Imagine two people. One studies hard, gets good grades, earns a degree, finds a stable job, works for 40 years, and retires with just enough money to survive. The other person learns something completely different. He learns how money works, not how to earn it, how it moves, how it grows, how it works for him, even while he sleeps. And decades later, that person becomes financially free. Same country, same economy, same opportunities, completely different results. The question is, what did one of them know that the other didn't? In 1997, a book appeared that challenged almost everything people had been taught about money. Its name was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. When it was published, many people laughed at it. Some criticized it. Some called it dangerous. Others said it would mislead ordinary people. But over time, something strange happened. The ideas that people mocked started becoming reality. Today, the book has sold more than 40 million copies and has been translated into dozens of languages. Because hidden inside its simple stories was a question that made people uncomfortable. What if the financial system rewards a completely different set of skills than the ones we learn in school?
The author, Robert Kiyosaki, was only 9 years old when he first started thinking about money. One weekend, some wealthy classmates made plans to hang out together. Robert wasn't invited, not because they disliked him, because his family was poor. That moment stayed with him. So he went home and asked his father a simple question.
"Dad, how do people become rich?" His father gave the answer most of us hear growing up. Study hard, get good grades, find a secure job, work hard. But Robert asked another question. If that's true, why aren't we rich? His father didn't have a clear answer. Instead, he told Robert something that would change his life. If you want to become rich, learn how money works. The first failed business. Robert and his friend Mike took that advice literally. They collected old metal, melted it down, and tried to make fake coins. When Robert's father discovered what they were doing, he stopped them immediately. That's illegal. Money isn't created that way. Then he pointed them towards someone else, Mike's father, a man who had little formal education but understood business and investing better than almost anyone in town. Robert would later call him Rich Dad. His own highly educated father became Poor Dad, and that's where the real lesson began.
Poor Dad, traditional path, highly educated, respected by society, believed job security was everything, worked hard his entire life, struggled financially. Rich Dad, financial freedom, left school early, built businesses, understood investing, made money work for him, became one of the wealthiest men in the city. One father taught, work for money. The other taught, make money work for you. That single difference became the foundation of the entire book. The first real lesson. When Robert and Mike asked Rich Dad to teach them how to become rich, he didn't start with a lecture. Instead, he hired them to work in one of his small stores for almost nothing. They cleaned shelves, organized inventory, worked for hours, and earned only a few cents. After several weeks, Robert became furious. "You promised to teach us how to get rich. You're just making us work for almost no money." Rich Dad smiled. Then he said something that Robert would never forget. "He am teaching you." He explained that most people spend their entire lives doing exactly the same thing. They work for a paycheck, then they spend the paycheck, then they need another paycheck, so they work again and again and again. He called it the rat race. The rat race. Think about the typical path. Go to school, get a degree, find a job, buy a car, take on a loan, get a bigger apartment or house, use a credit card, increase your lifestyle, need more income to support the lifestyle, work even harder. At first, people work because they need money. Later, they work because their expenses need money. And eventually, many people become trapped, not by chains, by payments. The difference between rich and poor. Rich Dad explained it in one sentence.
The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. That doesn't mean rich people never work. It means they focus on building systems that continue producing income even when they're not actively trading their time. Businesses, investments, rental properties, assets, things that generate cash flow. While most people sell hours for dollars, wealthy people try to build assets that generate dollars without requiring every hour of their day. Why this lesson matters today. When Rich Dad Poor Dad was released in 1997, the world looked very different. There was no TikTok, no YouTube creators, no online businesses, no AI tools, no remote work revolution. But the core idea has become even more relevant. Today, a single person can build a YouTube channel, a digital product, an online store, a newsletter, a software tool, an investment portfolio. Things that can continue generating income long after the initial work is done. That's why millions of people still read this book. Not because it promises instant wealth, but because it forces you to ask a dangerous question. Am I building assets or just building bills? The next lesson. And according to Rich Dad, that question leads to the most important rule of all. The rule that separates people who stay trapped in the rat race from people who eventually escape it. The difference between an asset and a liability. And once you understand that difference, you'll never look at your paycheck the same way again.
Rich Dad believed that one misunderstanding keeps millions of people financially stuck. Not a lack of intelligence, not bad luck, not even a low salary, just one simple misunderstanding. The difference between an asset and a liability. It sounds boring, almost too simple, but according to Rich Dad, this single idea explains why some people build wealth, while others spend their entire lives chasing it. Growing up, most of us hear the same advice. Buy a house, get a nice car, own expensive things. These are called assets. At least, that's what many people believe. Rich Dad completely disagreed. He said, an asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it. No complicated formulas, no financial jargon, just one question. Does this make you money or cost you money? Think about a brand new luxury car. The moment you drive it off the lot, it loses value. Every month you make a payment. Insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, registration. It constantly pulls money out of your pocket. It may look impressive, but financially, it's a liability. Now think about something completely different. Imagine buying shares in a company that pays dividends, or owning a rental property that generates monthly income, or building a YouTube channel that earns revenue while you're asleep. Those things continue putting money into your pocket. According to Rich Dad, those are assets.
Here's where things get interesting. Rich Dad never said you shouldn't buy nice things. He loved success. He appreciated nice cars, beautiful homes, luxury vacations. But he believed something most people ignore. Buy assets first. Let those assets pay for your lifestyle. Don't buy the lifestyle first, then spend the next 30 years paying for it. Think about how many people celebrate buying a bigger house. Friends congratulate them, family says they've made it, but behind the scenes, the mortgage is larger, property taxes increase, insurance costs rise, maintenance never ends. The house might become more valuable over time, but if it constantly requires money instead of producing it, is it really making you richer or just making you feel richer? Now, let's be fair. In the real world, the answer isn't always black and white. A primary home can appreciate in value. It can provide stability for a family. It can become part of long-term wealth. Many financial experts disagree with Rich Dad's definition, and that's okay. The point isn't that every house is bad. The point is to stop assuming something is an asset simply because everyone calls it one. Instead, ask a better question. What is this purchase actually doing to my cash flow? That question changes everything. Rich Dad believed wealthy people think differently before buying anything. They don't ask, can I afford the monthly payment? They ask, will this help me build more wealth? It's a small difference in wording, but a massive difference in results. One mindset focuses on consumption, the other focuses on ownership.
Look around today. Social media constantly encourages us to upgrade. A newer phone, a bigger television, designer clothes, luxury watches, fancier vacations. Every scroll tells us the same story. You deserve more. But almost nobody asks, who's actually getting richer from all this spending? Usually, it's not the buyer. Imagine two people. The first earns $80,000 a year. Every raise becomes a reason to spend more. Better apartment, new SUV, more subscriptions, bigger vacations. By the end of the year, they're still living paycheck to paycheck. The second person earns the same amount, but every extra dollar goes into investments, a business, or other income-producing assets. 10 years later, their lives look completely different, not because they earned more, because they made different decisions. This is why Rich Dad believed financial freedom doesn't begin with earning more money. It begins with understanding where your money goes after you earn it. Income matters, but habits matter even more. Every paycheck tells a story. Some people spend it, others invest it, and over time, those small choices create two completely different futures.
So before chasing a bigger paycheck, Rich Dad would ask a different question. How many assets are working for you while you sleep? Because according to him, the goal isn't to work harder forever. The goal is to build something that eventually works harder than you do. Imagine two people starting their careers on the exact same day. The first person asks one question: which job pays the most? The second person asks something completely different: which job will teach me the most? At first, the first person seems smarter. After all, who doesn't want a bigger paycheck? But Rich Dad believed that question could quietly trap someone for decades. Because when money becomes your only goal, you often stop investing in the one thing that creates long-term wealth: your skills. Most people spend years chasing promotions, higher salaries, better job titles. But Rich Dad noticed something interesting. Many highly paid professionals still struggle financially. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, executives. Some earn hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, yet many still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because a high income doesn't automatically create wealth. It only gives you more money to manage. And if you never learn how to manage it, a bigger paycheck simply leads to bigger mistakes. Rich Dad believed schools prepare us for one thing: getting a job. We're taught math, science, history, literature, all important subjects, but almost nobody graduates knowing how taxes work, how investing works, how businesses create wealth, how debt can help or hurt you, or how to read a simple financial statement. Think about that. Many people spend 16 or more years in school, yet never take a single class on managing the money they'll spend the rest of their lives earning. Rich Dad often said, financial intelligence is more important than a high income, because money without knowledge usually disappears. History is filled with examples: professional athletes who earned millions only to file for bankruptcy, lottery winners who became rich overnight then lost everything a few years later, celebrities who made fortunes yet ended up drowning in debt. The problem wasn't making money, the problem was keeping it. So instead of asking, how can I earn more, Rich Dad encouraged a different question: what skill should I learn next? Because every new skill increases your value. Sales, negotiation, communication, leadership, marketing, investing, business. These aren't just job skills, they're life skills.
And unlike money, nobody can take them away from you. Robert experienced this lesson firsthand. Early in his career, he worked for a company that paid less than many of his friends' jobs. People thought he had made a terrible decision. But Robert wasn't there for the paycheck. He was there to learn sales. He understood something most people didn't. If you can build an amazing product, but can't convince anyone to buy it, your talent stays invisible. Sales isn't about manipulation. It's about communication. Learning how to explain ideas, build trust, solve problems. Those skills became far more valuable than a temporary raise. Today, this lesson might be even more important than when the book was first published. Technology is changing faster than ever. Artificial intelligence is reshaping industries. Entire careers are evolving almost overnight. The people who succeed won't necessarily be the ones with the highest degrees. They'll be the ones who never stop learning. Because in a rapidly changing world, your greatest investment isn't your portfolio. It's your ability to adapt. Rich Dad also challenged another common belief. Many people think job security creates freedom. He believed the opposite. Sometimes job security creates comfort, and comfort slowly becomes dependence. When your entire financial life depends on one paycheck, one company, one boss, you're more vulnerable than you realize. That doesn't mean jobs are bad, far from it. Jobs provide income, experience, stability. But Rich Dad argued they should be viewed as a starting point, not the finish line.
He encouraged people to think like owners, not just employees. That doesn't mean everyone has to start a billion-dollar company. Ownership can take many forms. Investing in businesses, building digital products, owning rental property, creating online content, writing books, starting a side business. The goal isn't to escape work. The goal is to build something that continues creating value even when you're not actively working every hour of the day. Here's the biggest shift Rich Dad wanted readers to make. Stop asking, how much does this job pay? Start asking, who will I become if I take this opportunity? Because careers come and go. Industries change. Technology evolves. But the skills you develop, the knowledge you gain, and the mindset you build can create opportunities for the rest of your life. By this point, Robert understood something his poor dad never did. Money follows value, and value follows knowledge. The more problems you can solve, the more valuable you become. Not because someone gives you permission, but because you've built abilities that the marketplace rewards. And that leads directly into Rich Dad's next lesson, a lesson that separates people who stay stuck from those who keep finding opportunities even during difficult times. According to Rich Dad, the biggest obstacle to wealth isn't a lack of money, it's something much harder to overcome: fear.
By now, Robert Kiyosaki had spent years learning from two completely different fathers. One taught him how to earn a paycheck, the other taught him how to build wealth. Neither man was evil, neither man was wrong. They simply played two different games. And that's the lesson most people miss. Because if you don't understand the rules of the game, you'll spend your entire life wondering why everyone else seems to be winning. Rule number 1: the rich don't work for money. This is the first lesson, and probably the hardest one to understand. Most people trade their time for a paycheck. The more hours they work, the more money they earn. But there's a limit. You only have 24 hours in a day. No matter how talented you are, you can never work 25. Rich Dad believed the wealthy think differently. Instead of asking, how can I earn more, they ask, how can I build something that earns money without my constant attention? That's why businesses, investments, royalties, rental properties, and digital products have become powerful tools. They continue creating value even when you're sleeping. Rule number 2: buy assets before liabilities. Imagine receiving an extra $1,000 today. What happens next? For many people, the first thought is upgrading something: a better phone, a newer car, a bigger television. Rich Dad encouraged the opposite. Use today's income to buy tomorrow's income, because every asset you own becomes another employee working for you 24 hours a day.
Financial education is more valuable than income. Making money isn't the hard part. Keeping it is. Growing it is. Protecting it is. History is filled with people who became rich overnight, only to lose everything a few years later. Knowledge doesn't guarantee wealth, but a lack of knowledge almost guarantees expensive mistakes. That's why Rich Dad believed financial education never really ends. The economy changes, technology changes, markets change. Your ability to learn has to change with them. Work to learn, not just to earn. Some jobs pay well, others teach valuable skills. The smartest opportunities often do both. Rich Dad encouraged people to collect skills the way investors collect assets: communication, sales, leadership, negotiation, marketing, problem solving. These skills don't disappear during a recession. They don't expire with technology. They stay with you for life.
Don't let fear make your decisions. Fear is one of the most expensive emotions in the world. Fear keeps people from investing. Fear keeps people from starting businesses. Fear keeps people trapped in jobs they hate. But here's something equally dangerous: greed. Greed convinces people to chase quick money, to ignore risk, to believe every opportunity is guaranteed. Rich Dad believed successful investors control both emotions, not because they're fearless, but because they make decisions using knowledge instead of panic. Make money work harder than you. Think about two employees. One works 40 hours every week. The other also works 40 hours, but uses part of that income to buy investments that continue producing cash flow. 10 years later, they may have worked the same number of hours, but one built income, the other built expenses. Money is a tool. The question is, who's working for whom? Wealth begins with mindset. This may be the most important lesson of all. Before anyone becomes financially successful, they usually change the way they think. Poor Dad often said, "I can't afford it." Rich Dad asked, "How can I afford it?" One statement ends the conversation, the other begins it. Your mindset won't magically make you rich, but it shapes the questions you ask, and better questions often lead to better decisions.
So, was Rich Dad right? More than 25 years have passed since this book was published. Some of its ideas remain controversial. Many financial experts disagree with parts of Kiyosaki's advice. For example, some argue that a family home can absolutely be an asset. Others believe steady careers and diversified investing are safer paths than entrepreneurship. Those criticisms are worth considering, because no single book has every answer. But maybe that was never the point. Rich Dad Poor Dad wasn't written as a complete financial plan. It was written to change the way people think, to make readers question assumptions they had accepted their entire lives. And in that sense, it succeeded. The real lesson. Whether you agree with Robert Kiyosaki or not, one truth is difficult to ignore. Money is important, but understanding money is even more important, because financial freedom rarely happens by accident. It happens through thousands of small decisions. The books you read, the skills you build, the habits you repeat, the risks you prepare for, and the mindset you choose every single day.
Imagine your future self, 20 years from now, looking back at today. What would that version of you wish you had started learning earlier? Investing? Building a business? Creating something of your own? Or simply understanding how money actually works? Because the greatest investment isn't always in the stock market. Sometimes it's the investment you make in yourself. And that investment can continue paying dividends for the rest of your life. If Rich Dad Poor Dad teaches us anything, it's this: don't spend your life working only for money. Spend your life learning how to make money work for you. Because in the end, financial freedom isn't about having more, it's about having more choices. And sometimes, one new way of thinking can change the direction of your entire life. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge?